Welcome to the lecture on Module 4 Media Access Control MAC. When multiple Northstar stations are connected by means of common link, which we will call as multi-point or broadcast link, we need to have a multiple access protocol to coordinate access to that link. So we can consider the problem of controlling access to the medium, which is similar to rules for speaking in the assembly. So here when people speak in the assembly, certain rules has to be followed. That is, right to the speak is upheld, and we need to ensure that two people do not speak at the same time or do not interrupt each other and do not monopolize the discussion. Many protocol has been derived to handle the shared link. All these protocols are belong to the sublayer of uh, the data link layer, which we will call it media access control. So here basically these media access control protocols are classified into random access protocol, controlled access protocols, and channelization protocol. The first one is random access protocol. Here four protocol we are going to discuss, that is Aloha, CSMA, CSMA CD and CSMA CA. And until these protocols are commonly used in the LAN and WANs. The second one is controlled access protocol. Under this we are going to study about reservation, polling and token passing. These protocols are used in LAN. And the last one is channelization protocol, under which we are going to study about FDMA, TDMA, CDMA. These protocols are used in cellular telephony. So we will start our discussion with what do you mean by random access. In a random access or contention methods, no station is superior to another station and none is assigned control over another. That is, a station that has data to send will make use of the procedures that are defined by the protocol to make a decision about whether or not to send the data. So here basically the decision is based upon the state of the medium. That is, state of the medium can be idle or busy. So if the medium is idle, the station can send the data. If the medium is busy, station has to wait. So these rules are defined by the protocol, predefined by the protocol. So each station can transmit when it desires on the condition that it follow the predefined procedure, including testing the state of the medium. Now, why this access control is required? So here there is no scheduled time for the station to transmit. Transmission is purely random among the stations, because of which this is called as random access. And secondly, here no rules will specify which station has to send the data next. So here the station compete with each other to get access to the medium, because of which it is also called as contention methods. So in random access methods, each station has the right to the medium without being controlled by any other station. But if more than one station tries to send the data, then there will be a access conflict or collision. And whenever collision occur, the frames will be either destroyed or modified. So to avoid this access control or access conflict, each station has to follow a procedure by asking some set of questions. That is, when can a station can access the medium? What can this station do if the medium is busy? And how can the station determine the success or failure of the transmission? And what can the station do if there is a access control? So under random access method, we will study some set of protocols, starting with Aloha, which is basically designed for multiple access. So under this we are going to study about Aloha, pure Aloha and slotted Aloha. And then comes the CSMA. CSMA stands for Carrier Sense Multiple Access. As the name indicates, here each station will sense the medium before transmitting the data. The next two are CSMA CA, Carrier Sense Multiple Access with Collision Avoidance, and Carrier Sense Multiple Access with Collision Detection. So detection in this sense, here basically this station will tell this basically it will tell the station what to do when a collision is detected, and collision access will tell collision avoidance will basically try to avoid the collision. We'll see this later. The first we'll see about what you mean by Aloha. Aloha is the earliest random access method which was developed by University of Hawaii in early 1970s. So it is basically designed for radio LANs. So here when a station sends data, another station may attempt to do so at the same time. So here the data from two stations will get collided and become garbled. The pure Aloha. So the idea of pure Aloha is it is called as the original Aloha. So here each station send a frame whenever it has frame to send. So there exists only one channel between the stations, so there is a possibility of collision between the frames from different stations. Or you can imagine a situation like this: there are four stations, each station has two data frames to send. So there are total 4 stations and there are total 8 data frames to send. So here some of these frames will collide because multiple frames will contend for the medium or for the shared channel at the same time. Here collision means even if one bit of the frame coexists in the channel with the other or with one bit of the another frame, then we will consider that there will be a collision and both of these frames will get discarded. So if there is a single bit from one frame and single bit from another frame, if it coexists, there will be a collision and both of these frames will be discarded. So here you can see out of 8 frames, only 2 frames will be delivered into the destination. Other frames will be lost in the network due to collision. This pure Aloha protocol basically rely on acknowledgement from the receiver. So whenever a station send a frame, it will expect the receiver to send back the acknowledgement. If the acknowledgement does not arrive after some timeout period, the station will assume that frame has been destroyed or lost during the transmission and it will resend that frame. So here a collision may involve 2 or more stations. So if the station tries to resend the data after the timeout, then again the frames will collide each other. That is the retransmission. Again, if it happens at the same time, again collision will occur. So because of which pure Aloha dictates that when timeout period passes, each station has to wait for a random amount of time before resending the frames. We will call this time period as back off time or TB. Along with that, there is a limitation on maximum number of retransmission attempts, which will be indicated by Kmax. So it will give how many times a station can try at max and later it will give up and it will try later. So this diagram will show the procedure for pure aloha. So here you can see initially the station has a frame to send. So initially it will set a value of k. Here k is the number of attempts into 0. So it will initialize k into 0 and it will send the frame. And then the station will wait for 2 into TP. TP stand for the maximum propagation time. So it will wait for 2 times that of the maximum propagation time. In that interval, if the acknowledgement for the sent frame is received, then it will move into success. Transmission is successful. Otherwise, if we do not receive the acknowledgement before timeout, then it will increases k into k plus 1. That means it will go for the next attempt. And it will check whether k is greater than k max. It will check whether the k value is greater than the maximum number of attempt allowed. If it is no, then it will chooses a random number r and it will wait for the time interval TB. TB is the back of time. TB can be calculated as the random number selected r into TP maximum propagation time or r into TF average transmission time, and then it will again resend the packet. If the value of k is greater than k max, that is if the maximum number of attempt is reached, then it will abort that transmission. Next we'll see what's the vulnerable time for pure aloha. Here vulnerable time it is the length of the time in which there is possibility of collision. So here we will assume that each station will send a frame of fixed length and TFR is the frame transmission time in second, that is TFR. So here was the vulnerable time of station B. So look over here. First station A will transmit its frame. B will begins transmission of the frame before A completes. So there will be a possibility of collision over here. And again you can view here before completing B's transmission, C will start sending its frame. So again there will be a collision. So here you just consider B will start sending frame at a time T, and consider A will already started sending the frame at a time T minus TFR, frame transmission time. So T is this time, T minus TF. TFR is the frame transmission time. So this leads to the collision with the frame from the station B. So again you can consider, suppose the station C starts to send the frame before the time T plus TFR, then there is also a collision between frames from station B and C. So what we can consider is the vulnerable time during which the collision may occur in the aloha is 2 times that of the transmission time. So this is the transmission time of A, this is the transmission time of B. So where collision will occur, it is only in this particular slot. So it is 2 times that of the frame transmission time, that is 2 into TFR. Now suppose consider a pure aloha network transmit 200 bit frames on the shared link of 200 kilobits per second. What is the requirement to make the frame collision free? So average transmission time of the pure aloha is that is the number of bits in the frame divided by the capacity of the channel 200 kilobits per second. So frame transmission time is equal to 1 millisecond. The vulnerable time is 2 times that of the transmission time. So it is 2 into frame transmission time is 1 millisecond. 2 into 1 millisecond, that is 2 millisecond. So that indicates that no station should send later than 1 millisecond before this station start transmission, and no station should start sending during the period 1 millisecond that this station is sending. That is total vulnerable time is 2 millisecond. What's the throughput of this system? Let us call G as the average number of frames generated by the system during one frame transmission time. Then it can be proved that average number of successfully transmitted frame for pure Aloha is S into G into e power minus 2G. That is the average throughput of pure Aloha. Now at max, that is the maximum throughput, S max is equal to 0.184 when we will consider G is equal to 1 by 2. That is, in this equation, if you substitute G is equal to 1 by 2, you will get S max as 0.184. Here we expect G is equal to 1 by 2 to produce the maximum throughput, because vulnerable time we considered as it is 2 times that of the transmission time. Therefore, if the station generate only one frame in this vulnerable time, the frame well reaches its destination successfully. The next one is a problem. A pure Aloha network transmit 200 bit frames on a shared channel of 200 kilobits per second. What's the throughput if the system produces 1000 frames per second, 500 frames per second and 250 frames per second? So here, to find the throughput, that is out of sent frames, how many frames are successfully delivered into the destination. To calculate throughput, first we have to calculate the frame transmission time. So here, frame transmission time is the number of bits in the frame divided by the capacity of the channel, that is 200 divided by 200 kilobits per second, that what we will get as 1 millisecond. So first we will consider the first case, 1000 frames per second. So here we know how to calculate throughput. Throughput can be calculated as S is equal to G into e power minus 2G. So first we have to calculate what is this G. So in order to calculate G, what we have to consider is the definition of G. What we have considered G as, G is basically the average number of frames generated by the system during one frame transmission time. So first we have to find out what is transmission time. So frame transmission time we have already calculated as 1 millisecond. So consider the first problem, 1000 frames per second. So here for 1 second system will generate 1000 frames, but we want to calculate G. So for G, G is nothing but number of frame transmitted in one transmission time. So one frame transmission time we calculated as 1 millisecond. So in 1 millisecond, how many frames? That will give you the value of G. That is, you have to cross multiply this. That will give you the value of G as 1. That is 1000 into 1 millisecond. G you will get it as 1. So substitute the value of G. S is equal to G into e power minus 2G. By substituting G is equal to 1, you will get S is equal to 0.135. This means that the actual throughput is 1000 frames. 1000 into S, that is 0.135, that is equal to 135 frames. That indicates that only 135 frames out of 100 will probably survive. So the next one is, again, instead of 1000 frames we have to consider 500 frames. So here in 1 millisecond it will in 1 second per second it will generate 500 frames. The transmission time what we have calculated is 1 millisecond. So for 1 millisecond, how many frames? That is equal to 1 millisecond into 500. G value you will get it as 1 by 2. So by substituting G value, S value you will get it as 0.184. So the actual throughput is 500 into 0.184. That is equal to 92. That is only 92 frames out of 500 will probably survive. Similarly, the next one, 250 frames per second. So in 1 second 250 frames, in 1 millisecond how many frames? That value will give you the value of G as 1 by 4. So in this case, by substituting G value as 1 by 4, you will get S is equal to 0.152. That means that throughput is 250 frames into 0.152. That is only 38 frames will survive out of 250 frames. So in this problem, the important thing is how you are going to calculate the value of G. Be careful when you will calculate the value of G. Remember the definition of G, that it is the number of frames transmitted in one frame transmission time. So one frame transmission time you have to calculate at the beginning. The next one is a slotted aloha. In pure aloha, we have seen that the vulnerable time is 2 times that of the frame transmission time, because there is no rules which will state that when a station has to send. A station can send soon after other has started or before other station has finished. So basically this slotted aloha is invented to improve the efficiency of pure aloha. In a slotted aloha, we divide the time into slots of TFR second, frame transmission time seconds, and forces the station to send the frames only at the beginning of the time slot. So you can see this example. Here the time duration is divided into different slots. Each station can send only at the beginning of the slot. So here if any station misses that particular point, that is the start of the time slot, then it cannot send. It has to wait until the next time slot begins. So if you consider any station, it can transmit only at the beginning of this slot. So the station can send, if you consider the station 1, it has started in this point, it can transmit. But if you consider the next time slot 2, there is again a problem. More than one station will be trying to send the data or frames at the beginning of second time slot. So again there is a possibility of collision. Frame from station 2 and 3 will collide each other. But here the possibility of collision is comparatively less when you will compare with pure aloha. Here also you can see there are total 8 frames out of which for collision 4 frames are lost. So if you consider the vulnerable time, again the TFR stand for frame transmission time. So here each station can send only at the beginning of the time slot. So in the second time slot, B and C both will try to send their frames, so there will be a collision. But here the vulnerable time is equal to TRF, frame transmission time. In the pure Aloha we have seen the vulnerable time is 2 times that of the transmission time. But since here station can send frames only at the beginning of the slot, the vulnerable time is reduced into TFR, that is frame transmission time. What's the throughput? So here again S is equal to G into e power minus G. So here G is equal to 1. We will consider it as it will produce the maximum throughput, because here the vulnerable time is equal to the frame transmission time. So if a station generate only one frame in this vulnerable time, that frame will successfully reaches the destination. So when you will substitute G value as 1, you will get the value as S max as 0.365. Now again the same problem we have discussed under pure Aloha. Now same problem under slotted Aloha. So here also a slotted Aloha network transmit 200 bits frames using a shared channel with a 200 kilobits per second bandwidth. Find the throughput if the system produces 1000 frames per second, 500 frames per second and 250 frames per second. So here also first we have to calculate what's the frame transmission time. Frame transmission time is equal to the frame size 200 bit frames divided by channel bandwidth, that is 200 kilobits per second. Again we will get it as 1 millisecond. So here G is equal to 1. G value calculation is same as the previous one. In 1 second 1000 frames, in 1 millisecond how many frames? So G value is, you will get it as 1. So when you will substitute, you will get it as 0.368 as throughput, as the value of S. So the throughput S is equal to 1000 frames into 0.368. So what you will get is 368 frames. So only 368 frames will possibly survive. And then so the next one, 500 frames per second. So G you will get it as 1 by 2, that is again same thing, 1 second 500 frames, 1 millisecond how many frames you will get, and when you will substitute you will get it as 0.303. Therefore throughput you can calculate as 500 into 0.0303, you will get it as 151, and that indicates that 151 frames out of 500 frames will probably survive. And next comes the next one, that is G is equal to 1 by 4, you will get 250 frames per second, 1 millisecond how many frames, and yes you will get it as 0.195. This means that totally you will get 250 into 0.195, that is only 49 frames will survive. There is a mistake in these values, you just make it as 0.368 and 0.303. Okay, so this is about slotted Aloha problem. To minimize the chance of collision and to increase the performance, the CSME method was developed. That is, the chance of collision can be reduced if a station senses the medium before trying to use it. Carrier sense multiple access require that each station must listen to the medium before sending the packets. Uh, that is something like sense before transmit or listen before talk. CSME can reduce the possibility of collision, but it cannot eliminate it totally. Just consider this example. So here stations are connected to a shared medium. There are 4 stations A, B, C, D. So here, even though using CSMA, each of the stations sends the medium before sending the data. But still, the chance of collision exists due to the propagation delay. That is, when a station sends a frame, it still takes time for first bit to reach every station and for every station to sense it. That is, the station may sense the medium and find it idle only because the first bit sent by another station has not yet received. You just consider in this example, B will sense the medium at a time t1. It will find the medium idle, so it will start sending the data or frames. Now, at the time t2, t2 is greater than t1. You can see t2 is greater than t1. Station C will sense the medium, and it will also find it as idle at that time because the first bit from station B is not yet reached C at a time t2. You can see over here at a time t2 the data or frame from the B is not yet reached C. So what C will do, it will also send a frame. So here at some point two signals will collide and both the frames will be destroyed. So here you can see this will show you the area where B's signal exists in the channel, and this area will show where both signals exist. That means in this area there will be a collision between B's signal and C's signal. So both the frame will be discarded. Now we'll see what's the vulnerable time of CSMA. Vulnerable time for CSMA is basically the propagation time TP. Basically, this is the time needed for a signal to propagate from one end of the medium to the other. So when a station send a frame and any other station try to send the same when some other station also try to send the data at frame at the same time, the collision will result. But if the first bit of the frame reaches the end of the medium, every other station will already have heard that bit and will refrain from sending the frames. So here you can see at a time t1 A will send a data frame and it will reaches D at this particular time. So here this gray area will show the frame propagation time, which is equal to vulnerable time. So once frame reaches D, then whenever D senses or C senses or B senses at this point, it will find the existence of frames from A, so it will be refrained from sending. Otherwise collision will occur. So what should a station do if the channel is busy? What should a station do if the channel is idle? So, in order to answer for this question, we will have 3 different methods. That is, one persistent method, the non-persistent method, and p-persistent method. We'll see this one by one. The first one is one persistent method. So here this method is very simple and it is straightforward. Once if the station finds the line is idle, it immediately sends its frames. That is with the probability 1. So this method will have the highest chance of collision because 2 or more stations may find the line idle at the same time and they may send their frames immediately. So here this will show the flow chart. So first station will sense whether the channel is idle or whether it is busy. If it is busy, then again it will check. It will continuously monitor the channel to find whether or it will continuously sense the channel to find whether it is busy. Or if it is idle, immediately station will start its transmission of frames. This is also same thing. This is the channel. The CSMA method continuously sends the channel, and once it find it as idle, immediately it will start sending the data. The second one is non-persistent method. So here, whenever a station has a frame to send, first it will send us the line, and if the line is idle, it will start sending the frames immediately. But if the line is not idle, it will wait for a random amount of time and sends us the line again. So here you can see in the non-persistent method, first line is sensed, and if it is busy, it will wait for some time, and again it will sense, and once and again it will wait for a random amount of time, and next time whenever it will sense, and if the medium is idle, immediately it will transmit the frames. So here this will show you the same flowchart. First it will check whether the channel is busy. If it is busy, it will wait for a random amount of time, and then it will again check whether the channel is busy. Otherwise, if the channel is idle, immediately it will start transmitting the frames. So here, non-persistent approach, basically it will reduce the chance of collision, because most of the time 2 or more stations will wait. It will not wait for same amount of time, and it will not retry to send simultaneously. But this method will reduces the efficiency of the network, because the medium remain idle when there may be stations with frame to send, because of this random amount of waiting time. You can see over here it will senses the medium, it was busy, but after some time you can see the channel is idle, but because of that random waiting time, it cannot transmit. Once that random waiting time over, then it will again senses the channel, and then it will transmit. So this amount of time is wasted. The next method is P persistent method. So here this can be used if the channel has time slot with a time duration equal or greater than the maximum propagation time. The P persistent approach combines the advantages of one persistent and non-persistent strategies. That is, it will reduce the chance of collision, and also it will improve the efficiency. So here in this method, after a station finds the line as idle, it will follow the following steps. With the probability P, the station will send the frame. And with the probability Q is equal to 1 minus P, the station wait for the beginning of next slot, and it will check the line again. So you can view in this figure, it will continuously sense the channel, and if the channel is idle, it will send the frame with the probability P. With the probability Q is equal to 1 minus P, the station will wait for the beginning of next time slot and check the line again. So here this is wait time slot otherwise. So if the line is idle, so here you can see, but here line is busy. If the line is idle, it will go back to step 1. But if the line is busy, then it will act as through a collision has occurred and uses some back off procedure, and then again it will start sensing the channel. So this is the flow chart. So first it will sense the channel. So if the channel is busy, it will go back. Otherwise, first it will generate a random number R that will lies between 0 to 1, and it will check whether R is less than or equal to P. If it is less, then station can transmit with the probability P. Otherwise, it will wait for a particular amount of time, and it will sense the channel again. And if the channel is busy, it will make use of the back off process as thinking that collision has occurred. Otherwise, again it will go back, and again it will start sending the frames with the probability P. Next, we'll see what you mean by CSMA CD. Carrier sends multiple access with collision detection. The previous method CSMA, what we have seen, it does not specify the procedure what we have to follow when a collision occur. But the CSMA CD augments the algorithm to handle the collision. In this method, the station monitors the medium after it sends a frame to see if the transmission was successful. If so, the station is finished. Otherwise, it will consider that there is a collision and the frame is sent again. So to understand this one better, we will look at how the first bit transmitted by two stations involved in the collision. So here each station continue to send bits in the frame until it will detect a collision. So just look at the figure. So here there are four stations A, B, C, D. So here first A will senses the medium. Since it is idle, it will start transmitting it frame at a time t1. The first bit of A is transmitted in this direction, you can see. So similarly, there is a station C which will senses the medium at a time 2, T2, and it will find that medium is idle. You can see the first bit of A is not yet reached C at a time T2. So it will find the medium as idle and it will start sending the frame. But at some point of time, that is at this particular point, the collision will occur. C come to know about this collision at a time t3 and it will immediately stop sending the frame or it will abort its transmission. Similarly, A will find the collision at a time t4 and it will also stop sending the frames at a time t4. So here the total duration of the time A transmitted the frame A, you can consider it as T4 minus T1. Similarly, for transmission time for C is T3 minus T2. So here, remember when A senses the medium or C senses the medium, it will uses one of the persistent procedure what we have discussed previously before sending the first bit into the medium. So here again collision has occurred. Now we'll see about the time duration for two transmissions. So here also you can see same diagram. It is represented in the form of signals that present in the channel. So here the duration of transmission time for A is shown in this gray color. This is the transmission duration. For C, this is the transmission duration. So whenever collision occur and whenever the corresponding station identify that collision, it will abort its transmission and A will abort it at T4. So what will be the minimum frame size? For CSMA CD to work, we need to impose a strict restriction on frame size. That is, before sending the last bit of the frame, the send station must detect a collision, if any, and abort the transmission. So this is because once the entire frame is sent, this does not keep track of copy of the frame and it does not monitor the line for collision detection. Therefore, frame transmission time TFR must be at least 2 times that of the maximum propagation time. That is, TFR must be equal to 2 into TP. Look at the example problem. A network using CSMA CD has a bandwidth of 10 megabits per second. If the maximum propagation time is 25.6 micros, what is the minimum size of the frame? So here we have to find the size of the frame. So first what we have to calculate is minimum transmission time. Propagation time is given. We know the relationship between transmission time and propagation time. That is TFR is equal to 2 times that of TP. So here total transmission time TFR is equal to 2 into TP, 2 into 25.6 microseconds. So what we will get is 51.2 microsecond. So here in the worst case, this station need to transmit for a period of 51.2 microseconds to detect the collision. So the minimum size of the frame is bandwidth into the transmission time, that is 10 Mbps per second into 51.2 microsecond. What we will get is 512 bits or 64 bytes. That is the required answer. Next we'll show the flow diagram for CSMA CD. It is something similar to Aloha what we have seen, but there is some difference. First we'll see about this diagram. So whenever station has frame to send, first it will initialize a variable k is equal to 0. K will be the maximum number. K will give the number of attempts. So here at max k value must be 15. So then it will apply one of its persistent method to find whether the channel is idle and whether it can transmit. So if the channel is idle, it is a continuous transmission and receive process. So here it is considered as frames will continuously send the bits, so process is considered as continuous. If it is done, or if there is a collision occurred, if there is a collision, it will go into the next loop, and if the collision is detected, it will send a jamming signal. Otherwise it will send a message saying that transmission is successful. So basically this jamming signal is used to make to indicate other stations about the collision. So after sending the jamming signal, it will increases k with k is equal to k plus 1, and it will check whether k has reached the maximum number of attempt. If it is yes, it will abort the transmission. Otherwise it will create a random number r, and it will wait for a back of time tb, that will be calculated as r into tfr, frame transmission time, and again the loop will continue. Again it will check the medium to find whether it is idle or busy. The energy levels. So the level of energy in the channel can have three different values, either 0, normal or abnormal. At 0 level, the channel is idle. At normal level, a station has successfully captured the channel and it is sending its frames. At the abnormal level, there is a collision, so the level of energy will be twice that of the normal level. A station that has a frame to send, or it is sending a frame, need to monitor the energy level to determine whether the channel is idle, busy, or in the collision mode. So the figure shows the same thing. So this is the normal transmission mode, and this will show the idle time energy, or energy level is 0, and this is the collision time energy level will be high. It is 2 times that of the normal energy level. Next is throughput. The throughput of CSMA CD is greater than that of pure or slotted Aloha. The maximum throughput occur at different values of G, and it is based on the persistent method and the value of P in the P persistent approach. For one persistent method, the maximum throughput is around 50%, and when G is equal to 1 for the persistent method, the maximum throughput will go up to 90% when G is between 3 and 8.